Connection depends upon communication. If we do not connect with one another, we can accomplish very little. For an 18 to 20-year-old to pay any attention to what I have to say, they have to believe me, and I have to mean it. An engaging lecture drills into the student's brain. And when it's in there, they can make all kinds of connections with the content.
Welcome to the CFI Faculty Lounge Podcast, an outlet created for continuous learning and actionable insights for faculty. I'm your host, Eric Magrum, inviting you to join us in conversation with dedicated educators who share their experiences, challenges, and effective solutions. Today, I'm excited to welcome Dr. Julie Gochenour, an instructor in the School of Communication Studies and winner of both the Madison Vision and Teaching Award and the SCOM Lecturer of the Year Award. As faculty, a large portion of our role is public speaking and helping students make meaning of content. Julie is an expert communicator, and those tuning in will certainly learn how to level up their lectures. Welcome, Julie, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks, Eric. It's a pleasure to be here. I love teaching, and so I'm going to love talking about it.
I'm going to love listening and hearing. So are our listeners. So could you talk about what makes you so passionate about helping students improve their communication skills?
Yes, it's the same thing I tell them. Connection depends upon communication. If we do not connect with one another, we can accomplish very little. If we do not genuinely connect with other people, our relationships are poor. If we do not connect with other people, we have no hope whatsoever of making a difference in this world, because none of us can accomplish very much by ourselves. Communication is what we use to create connection. Communication is the foundation of connection and relationships. And so I want my students to fall in love with it just like I do.
So powerful statements first, right off the bat. How do we go about that? And secondly, is there a way to inauthentically communicate where we don't actually get to connection?
Eric, honestly and truly, it's a choice. It is a decision. I've been married almost 45 years. Most days, I do not wake up feeling like I love my husband. Most days, I wake up, I need to go to the bathroom, I need to brush my teeth, do I need to check my email before I get breakfast, that sort of thing. I'm not feeling love, but my love for my husband is a decision I make no matter what else is on my mind, no matter what else is on my to-do list. And connection's the same thing. Connection is a commitment that you make no matter what you're feeling. Connection is a choice, and that connection depends on communication. So I situate myself and remind myself that I am here today to use my communication to connect. And then I commit myself to communicating in a way that facilitates connection. One of the things in communication studies that we know is that there is it's in the transactional model of communication, but there is a relationship dimension to every communication interaction. And that your communication interactions can either improve the relationship or degrade the relationship. And I teach my students that even if you're just reaching for fries through the takeout window at McDonald's, how you communicate in that actually improves communication, or the communication degrades that even brief relationship.
Listeners, if you could see my face, I was nodding in agreement. And I say this because I firmly believe in my very core, you either leave somebody better than you found them, or you leave them worse off because you didn't leave them better. There is no neutral interactions, in my opinion.
Correct. Absolutely.
Can you speak a little bit more to this, and then how you came to that thesis?
Believe it or not, that is in the content that we teach all incoming students who have to take the basic communication course is that there are 3 dimensions to communication. We teach that when we teach the transactional model of communication. And the first time that I taught that, I knew it in my head. I kind of live my life that way because I love people and I love to connect. But the first time I said it out loud, it was like, oh my gosh, that's absolutely it. And that's one thing now I make sure I don't just teach that there's a relationship dimension and, each communication transaction, it makes connection better or worse. But for me, that's now one of my credos. That's one thing that I hold on to hard and fast because it does. It makes all the difference in the world because there's the ripple effect. And connection crackles on so many levels that we don't even begin to understand it. And besides, we're responsible for our responses. And I'd rather be responsible for something good than responsible for something bad.
Yeah, and I think that actually lends into the second question that I originally asked you, which was the inauthenticity piece. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in authenticity for lots of reasons. But also especially with my students, because I think students can smell a fake a mile away. And I'd rather they know what they're getting from the get-go. And when the first day of classes, I tell them, okay, I said, this is what you're going to get the rest of the semester. If this doesn't match what is a good style for you, please go find another professor because you don't want to be stuck with somebody whose communication style is not a good fit for you. But one of the things I commit to doing is I commit to being truthful. And I happen to be a Quaker. And one of the things Quakers believe is the truth testimony, which is everything you should say, everything you say all the time should be as truthful as if you were swearing on a Bible. Quakers don't swear on a Bible. This is why. But I tell my students, if I tell you something, you can take it to the bank. If I'm going to tell you something and it's not true, I'll go find and figure out something to say that is true. But if I've told you, you can take it to the bank. And they kind of roll their eyes the first week or two of class, and then they realize I mean it. And then I've got cred. And when you've got cred, you've got a class that'll follow you.
So I'm going to double click on something.
Sure.
Cred. Can you...
Credibility.
Okay. And why is that? Why is credibility important?
If I want my students to truly pay attention to what I'm saying, and I do because I so believe in communication. I tell them communication is the most important thing in my life because even my relationship with my husband is predicated on our communication.
Absolutely.
So if I want them to follow me, they need to know that I am speaking truth that they can believe. When I tell them this is important because if you do not self-disclose at both, for example, at both a superficial and a more in-depth level, your relationships will stay at the superficial level. Okay? If they believe me already, they will hear that. If they haven't realized that I'm always speaking from my heart as well as my brain, they're not going to take it in. For an 18, a 20-year-old to pay any attention to what I have to say, they have to believe me, and I have to mean it. And besides, I don't know of any true communicator that doesn't mean what they say, because the whole point is to connect. And why would you tell somebody you want to connect with something that wasn't true or something that didn't mean something to you?
Great question. You said something in there though, and I want to come back and I want to push a little bit on it.
Okay.
Which is the follow. You said, follow me. And I can hear, not literally, but metaphorically, I can hear somebody saying, a listener, I don't need my class to follow me.
No. I mean, I need my class to follow the content.
Okay, got it.
Does that make sense? When I say follow me, follow the content that I'm delivering.
And I guess even more so, and this was me playing devil's advocate, if you will. And I say that because I firmly believe that when you teach a class, you're leading a class.
Yes.
And you're leading them through the story that happens to be the content that you're teaching.
Bingo.
And it really does. It's predicated on your communication style and your ability to establish credibility. And I firmly believe if we don't get our students to follow us, and this is not some I am the Messiah, the light, the truth, and the way.
No.
It's a simple, hey, I know this person is credible, and I know they have my best interest, and they're not sending me on a wild goose chase. No. But I think there's a different, deeper level if you see yourself as somewhat of a leader in helping them learn the material, as opposed to I'm just simply telling them what they need to know from a content perspective.
It's no joke that I'm older. I mean, it's no secret that I'm older, not a joke. It's no secret that I'm older. And when I went back for my master's degree, I had a professor who was grumbling because he could no longer be the sage on the stage. He was told he now had to be the guide at the side. And I want to be the guide at the side. You can lead right where your students are. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I want them not lockstep with me, but I want to be there with them. And I know the way, but they're not going to feel like I'm out in front if I have anything to do with it. Mm-hmm. We learn what we discover. Julie's 3 rules for postmodern communication. We learn what we discover. Mm-hmm. The other 2 are the universal is found in the specific, and only the personal is contagious.
Only the personal is contagious.
Yes. So if I don't believe in it, they won't catch it.
Okay.
And the universal is found in the specific. So I teach with lots of examples, real life examples, or I ask them for real life examples that I know will illustrate the point. And as far as I'm concerned, that's when they start learning, when you make sure they can discover it. And so I'm the guide by the side, and I go, look at this. Isn't this cool? And they're like going, oh, yeah, wow, that's really cool. And that's what it means to be the guide on the side. Said, well, if you look over here, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't want somebody to tell me that. I have a brain. And then when they see it and they discover it for themselves, can I interject something?
Absolutely.
Okay. At the end of the year, at the end of the semester, for extra credit, I have students write a paper on what they have learned and applied in the class. Real life application. It's an extra credit paper. They don't have to do it. But you have to give me real life examples, explain what happened, how you changed or what changed or whatever. And the things that made a difference for them, some years it's kind of a theme. Like some years it's nonverbal communication, some years it's listening, but it's actually all over the board. But they have actually taken something that I mentioned maybe in passing, or was maybe 5 minutes at the most in a lecture, and it has been life-changing for them. And that's because I had them paying attention. Mm-hmm. My job is to get students to pay attention.
It absolutely is. And I think attention is the gatekeeper to learning.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't have their attention, there's no way they're going to be learning. In my purview, anyway. And so that extra credit assignment and them applying it to their lives, that might be considered what's called a utility value intervention. Have you heard this term?
Oh, once or twice.
So the idea is effectively they're applying it to their lives as they see, whether it's to a future or intended profession, or it's to, hey, I might be in a significant relationship one day that I might need to be able to communicate in. Therefore, I'm applying it to that situation.
Oh, they'll say, I was in a significant relationship. And after that lecture on listening, I realized that she doesn't listen to me at all. And instead, she's always giving me advising and interpreting responses. And I just decided, did I really want to be in that kind of relationship? And the answer is no. And now I'm in a much better relationship with somebody else. But it's not real. If they can't apply it, it's not real.
I'm of the same belief. So you also said, and I apologize if I'm misquoting, you said, if I don't believe it, they won't catch it.
Right.
Can you say more about that? Only
Only the personal is contagious. If it's not that's basically you're just paraphrasing, but that's that's one of my little short rules. We're in college, and there are plenty of authoritarian sources, primary sources that we use for research. We conduct our own research to create primary resources, etc. But if I'm telling you something and it's clear I don't believe it, who's going to subscribe to that? Not my very, very sharp 18 and 19-year-olds. Not even my seniors. They're not going to, they're like, well, she's just saying that. They can hear it in my voice. That's why I don't usually say things I don't mean. First off, that's a waste of time. And even if I'm lecturing and I look around and they're starting to glaze over, or I'm using too much jargon, I'll go, so Dale, am I wrong, or is that kind of running off the top of your head like rain off a roof? And of course, they'll tell me they don't like him, and he'll kind of nod and I go, okay, let me back up. And then I'll back up. And this time Julie will reach a little deeper into Julie to talk about it. Yeah. Because I was a little bit safe. And you do the same thing in writing. Safe writing never gets, very seldom gets published. I'm not talking about academic writing, but I'm talking about nonfiction, fiction, anything where you play it safe, your audience is not going to buy in, because if you haven't bought in, why in the Sam Hill should they?
I'm not sure.
I have to buy in.
Yep.
And fortunately, I teach a subject matter in which I'm passionate about. But I would think every professor teaches a subject matter they're passionate about.
I think that's true.
Because it's all our fields. We love them.
Right. However, the one thing I think we could level with here, I don't know, they might be passionate about the content.
Yes.
And what it does for them internally and how it makes them feel when they're reading about it and discovering things. But I don't know that they're passionate or skilled at communicating their passion.
I know. I use boring professors as a motif when we're talking about giving speeches.
Yeah.
And I'll say, you have to catch your audience's attention. You have to use your voice. You have to use vivid language, blah, blah, blah. What happens? I said, who in here has a professor that always talks like this and never has any emphasis or looks up from their lecture notes? How does that make you feel? I can't stay awake. I daydream. I glaze over. I go, don't be that professor. When you're a speaker, don't be like that. And it's a stereotype. Yeah. It's a caricature.
Oh yes, it's a caricature.
I don't think most, at least in their majors, I would hope not. But it gets the point across, because all of a sudden, because they just want to write their speech and say it and be done with it.
You're not. I don't think you're wrong.
Not all of them, but
Right,
there's a percentage of them that just, let me get this over with. And then they go, gosh, I hate that. That's terrible. I can't. Now I see what she's saying. Okay. So, and also, they never see me do that.
I could see that. just from our brief interactions thus far, I can absolutely assure you that I wouldn't see that.
And this is what happens in every class.
Yeah. So first, before we move on to our formalized next question, where did you get the permission to be a passionate communicator?
That's a good question. Well, I came from a family of skilled talkers, not college educated, but skilled talkers. And my husband said when I was born, instead of catching me in a blanket, they caught me in a sheet of newsprint, because for years I was a journalist. And he thinks, I just immediately.
Yeah.
But it's because I love to connect.
Yep.
I want to connect.
Yep.
More than anything else, I want to connect. My students will say, Dr. G, who's your favorite student? I said, I hate to tell you all this. I said, are you ready? oh yeah, they all want to know who's my favorite. I go, it's whichever one I'm talking to at the moment. I go, because when I'm talking to a student, I go, this person is just my favorite student. And the next time I'm talking to somebody, this person has got to be my favorite student. And because when you want to connect, then you give yourself permission to communicate. I love what I do.
I can tell. And I love feeling that. I love experiencing being the presence of, and so do other people. I'm speaking for them, but I'm sure that they would agree. So can you speak to the power of an engaging lecture? And I'll even add to somebody going up and lecturing in a passionate manner.
An engaging lecture drills into the student's brain. And when it's in there, they can make all kinds of connections with the content because the engagement, the passion that you bring to it gets past that certain shield that they keep up between their personhood and their position in the desk. You get past that with an engaging lecture, and you get that content actually in their brain. And it starts bouncing around in there. And that's when you don't know what's going to happen next. One, they're going to remember it because I engaged with it. I got it through to them so that they engaged with it. So one, they're going to be more likely to remember it, which is what JMU pays me to do. But what's going to happen is that information is going to bounce around in there against and into and everything else that floats around in your head. And you don't know where they're going to apply it. But they will. And I assume JMU students say thank you to every professor after the lecture.
That is not true.
That's not true?
No, but it obviously is for you.
Even my online classes say thank you, thank you, thank you.
I think that is a tip of their cap or the metaphorical salute, essentially, at the end.
But what it does is it tells me that they received something of value that not that the book tells them is value, not that I tell them a value, but you say thank you when somebody gives you something of value.
I can't. That would be if I was observing, or if I had to come up with a checklist of how you're doing. You had a good lecture or a good day lecturing. It would be if somebody says thank you, and it's not just like thanks. It's a hey, thank you, Dr. G.
Yeah.
As they walk out the room, that is you've effectively provided value for that student.
And even if they say thanks and you can hear that they mean it, it works.
Exactly. And you can tell when they don't mean it too. No, that's a phenomenal insight. Now, going back and double clicking on drilling into the student's brain to help them make connections. Can that happen on day one? Or what do we need to do in order for a listener to try to harness that, to be able to drill into the brain and then make connections? What do we have to do as professors, as instructors, as lecturers to be able to do that?
Oh, day one's a tough one. I usually am somewhat successful on day one, not as much as I'd like to be. I still work on that. I do tell them if mass communication style doesn't match up with yours, please leave. Please go find someplace. I tell them that I give 100%. Even on my bad days, I give as much as I've got, they get. I tell them that I have their backs. I'm here to help them succeed. That whatever I say, they can take to the bank. I tell them that don't think I'm a softie. I'm fair. But I also understand what my grandma said. You cannot put young heads on old shoulders, that they are still learning. That frontal lobe has not finished developing yet. And, people said that way before we had anything like neuroscience. That's the country saying. But you just can't expect young people to be nonstop wise. You can't even expect adults to be nonstop wise, for Pete's sake. And after a while, they find out that I really do mean it. So I lay the groundwork. Okay, here it is. This is me. This is what you're going to get. Okay, now they're watching. Is she really who she says she is, or is she just blowing smoke? You know, I'll say, you don't know this yet. I said, Eddie, you can say anything on the first day, but I'm on your side. I'm here to help you succeed. Okay. I said, you'll believe me in about 5 or 6 weeks. You'll find out. You don't have to believe it now, but you will in about 5 or 6 weeks. And they do. And they even write that at their end of the year evaluations, like, Dr. G is always on our side. Okay, I proved it. Walk the talk.
And I think that's about consistency in messaging, is it not?
Absolutely. Marshall McLuhan, the communication scholar back in the 60s, he's gone in and out of favor several times, but he said the medium is the message. The medium,
unpack that one for
me. The
me.
medium is the message. They were looking at televised messages and the growing use of television is what he was discussing. But in some respects, it's true. Because if you get your messages from social media influences the message that you get.
Right.
If you get it from a podcast, that influences the way you receive the message. I'm the medium for the message.
Yeah.
I'm the way those students are receiving that message. Therefore, to extrapolate this, if I make it interesting, they're going to receive it as interesting. If I'm credible, there's a huge difference between Walter Cronkite, say that for me, please.
Cronkite?
Yes, and TMZ. You get my drift?
Yep.
And so the medium is the message. That one's been debated a lot, but I believe it when it comes.
Would it be accurate to say that you are the message?
Yes.
And it's hard to. You and the message are inextricably linked.
Yes.
Therefore, there has to be continuity between you and your presentation of the message and the material itself.
There has to be congruency. Your values, your words, and your actions have to match up. And that's true for any communication to be successful.
You know, so one of my mentors, the person I learned to coach from, he always said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes.
But in his leadership philosophy, he goes, you know, the hardest part about leadership, which I believe teaching, to be clear, is leadership. He said the hardest part about leadership is actually the modeling.
Yes.
And I think that's the hardest part. There's no faking being excited or passionate or enthusiastic. There's no faking. There's no amount of coffee that can get you there. You're either there and authentic and excited or passionate, etc., or you're not. And I think that goes a long way with students.
Oh, yeah.
I think that goes a long way. If you enjoyed this, stay tuned for the second half of our discussion in the coming weeks.